Hello guys, welcome back to Echelon's Hub. Today I'm here to talk to you about something I particularly like, goat track experts. I like goat tracks. What are goat tracks? Well, I don't know the definition, but by my definition it's just a really steep climb. Be it long, be it short, I like them. And I'm going to talk about a rider that particularly excels in them, which is something that I've seen over the last few years, which is Michael Woods. Michael Woods is a rider that I found in 2015. He raced for Optum and he won a stage in the Tour of Utah in a particularly punchy finish ahead of sprinters such as, if I'm not mistaken, Sonny Colbrelli and Kjell Reinen over there. It was the first time that I've heard of Michael, and he was still racing on the continental level if I'm not mistaken, showing a big name. In 2016 he was hired by Cannondale, which is now EF, right on the spot, selected for the Tour Down Under, and on stage 3, the first climbing challenge of the race, up the corkscrew climb, he done fantastic. He attacked and he dropped Richie Porte. Sergio Henao was the only rider on that day being able to keep up with his moves on a particularly short climb, just as he liked them. He didn't win that stage. That stage ended up being won by Simon Gerrans. At this clip we see Simon Gerrans taking the sprint, if I'm not mistaken, in front of Jay Carty, and I'm not sure who the BMC rider is. Woods was right there, finishing further fourth. That same year he went to Milano-Torino. He didn't have a particularly strong year, but it was his first as a World Tour Pro, so it's completely understandable. In Milano-Torino he finished a very strong second. After Astana broke up the race in the descent of the first climb of the Superga, Woods was in the front group and he attacked right on the base of the climb. You see him here go over Eduardo Zardini and going solo off the front with over 4 kilometers to go, so almost in the beginning of the climb. Miguel Angel Lopez, he went from behind. He was also, if I'm not mistaken, a Neo-Pro at that year. He had won the Tour of Swiss and he was coming in with great form. He was still a very up-and-coming rider, if I'm not mistaken, having his first big results of his career. Lopez went after Woods. Woods done a great strategy, attacking on that final bit before the steep pitch to Superga, but Lopez attacked in there. Both of the riders were still new to the World Tour scene. None of them had very much experience, but they had the power in the legs. Lopez took the win on that day, but Woods surprised a lot by finishing second on that day. It was a magnificent result ahead of his teammate Rigoberto Urán, who had very big expectations for the race. A very strong rider and already very accomplished. In the 2017 Vuelta, he became somewhat of a Grand Tour rider, despite his time trialing abilities being very reduced, which would always hamper him. He showed himself very strong and consistent in the mountains, and the climb that I particularly believe that showed his skill set the best was, if I'm not mistaken, stage 18. It was the stage that Froome accused the salbutamol analytic something and in that particular stage I loved seeing how Woods raced. Froome had attacked on that day. It was a stage that had the Colada del Os and Contador attacked, and then in the final climb of the day Froome attacked himself. Contador went away and Woods was the only rider who managed to go with him. He finished 7th on that year in the Vuelta. It was a great result, and he showed not only Grand Tour capacity but also individually in those steep finishes. Very strong, confirming it once again. 2018 confirmed his potential as a puncher. He finished second in Liege-Bastogne-Liege, won by Bob Jungels. He attacked with Romain Bardet and they managed to hold off the rest of the group, finishing second. And this example is perhaps the best one that I have to show. We have here a Vuelta a España stage. It was the 2018 edition in stage 17 to Monte Oiz, or Balcón de Vizcaya, however you want to call it. We have a group here coming into the final kilometer with David de la Cruz, Michael Woods, Dylan Teuns and Rafael Maica. That last kilometer was absolutely amazing to watch. It was a stage that went for the breakaway. You see Maica here trying to surprise, Teuns on the wheel, Woods on the wheel. Woods sees that the pace can have an increase in here, and right here he goes. The grade says 14%. He didn't have a reaction, Maica. De la Cruz also didn't, and Teuns went right after Woods. He counterattacked, and this climb was just a section of counterattacks over counterattacks in the front. Sadly, the TV footage didn't show everything. They didn't show how Woods here attacked Teuns, but we see the gap built. 16% is what says here. I think at the time there was more gradient in the road than just 16, but this is exactly what cycling is all about. This is a massive stage finish. Michael Woods is in pure suffering. They entered the final kilometer and those four riders pretty much sprinted neck to neck with each other, and it was just a pure battle of survival for Woods. It was a very emotional win. I remember at the time on the interview that he did, he suffered on the Fog to Montois, but he took a massive stage win. He didn't focus on the overall in that year. He went for stage wins and he got that exactly. This was an epic triumph, and this is the footage that reminds of some big moments in history of cycling. This is suffering in its purest form, and it was a magnificent win by Woods. And then in the World Championships of that year, there is a front group already in the final climb to all. We have Thibaut Pinot, Romain Bardet, and Julian Alaphilippe leading the group, which is already very reduced, somewhere around already the halfway mark of the climb. Gianni Moscon, Alejandro Valverde, and Woods were there in the group. Pinot did his work, Alaphilippe was cracking, Bardet was feeling very good, Woods went right after him. And here is where we see Woods starting to pick up the race. He saw that there was an opportunity to get a medal in here, and maybe something more than that. Bardet was there, Valgren had just been caught and was going backwards, still very strong, but going backwards, and Gianni Moscon was still surviving. Tom Dumoulin was in the chase. This climb was extremely steep. The pitches went up to 28%, and I think that at this point it really showed. Not sure if the 28% were right here, but those riders are pretty much on a standstill going side to side. Moscon amazingly still on the saddle. It's amazing how he was able to do this for most of the climb, even on the steepest pitches. And Woods, throughout the whole time of this climb, the decisive part, the steep part, he was leading the group. Not only was he putting himself in position to win a medal in the World Championships, he was putting himself as a big favorite. Yeah, Didi the Devil in there, going after the riders. Woods still in front, looked fresh, looked explosive, and honestly looked at this point as though he could create a gap in there and really take home the World Championships. I believe at the time that could happen. He was looking so strong. He was going up the front. This steep pitch is absolutely an amazing sight. One of the best memories that I have actually of watching cycling. Moscon almost at a standstill. Woods grinding it in the front. Bardet and Valverde resisting. The grades were absolutely smashing. And watching this in a World Championship with riders that were relative outsiders as Woods and Bardet. Bardet wasn't even supposed to be the leader. It was an amazing sight. As we know, Valverde ended up winning that World Championship. We see here the final sprint where he led out, and he actually launched the sprint very early in my opinion, but his luck is that there was a cook, Tom Dumoulin, in the group, and neither Woods and Bardet have a strong sprint. They're very lightweight riders. That's also an essence of what makes Woods a very explosive rider. He's very light. He has an athletics background, a running background, and my theory for his capacity to go over these very steep climbs and manage to thrive in them is exactly his capacity that came from the running. His anaerobic levels means that he can go at anaerobic very well, and he can thrive in these type of climbs. Finally, here we have the Milano-Torino of last year, 2019. Jakob Fuglsang attacking right on the beginning of the final climb, just as Woods did in 2016. We have Adam Yates, Woods going right on the wheel, looking very comfortable. Valverde, Gaudu, and Gorka Izagirre going on the wheel. Right after that initial attack by Fuglsang, Woods made his move. This is another thing that makes Woods a particularly exciting rider. He attacks, he's very aggressive, and he likes this type of climb. He likes to go very hard from the start. We can see here him dropping Jack Haig, dropping Gorka Izagirre, two very strong climbers, and going solo. A group with Adam Yates, Valverde, and Egan Bernal came from behind. Still Izagirre and Jack Haig here leading the group. Gaudu was in front with Woods. Woods now coming here to the final bit of the section, attacking once again, proving himself very strong. A rider who's capable of attacking, resting, and attacking again. A pure climber section. Eventually that group was caught. There was a standstill again. Gaudu very aggressive. Liege Benoit came from behind. He was coming with Bauke Mollema. Now pay close attention to this move by Gaudu. One of the best tactical moves that I've seen lately. Benoit coming from behind. Gaudu knows that Woods is the rider that is strongest here. Benoit goes from the side, Woods goes on the wheel, very comfortable. Gaudu sees in him and he goes through the other side immediately, trying to surprise, but Woods very strong. He goes on the wheel. Gaudu with an absolute surprise attack here, and he went with the whole balance to the final pitch of the Superga. But Woods was so strong on that day. He went himself right on the wheel. He didn't seem in any trouble, and then right off the front he attacked hard, he dropped everyone. Valverde looked around, he couldn't keep up with Woods when he made this move. This part of the climb wasn't ultra steep as the rest of the climb mostly was, but he attacked off the front and he shot up like a bullet 400 meters away from the finish. And at this time he was in pure agony, but it was all about surviving and making that worth it. He made it all the way to the finish. Adam Yates was here, Benoit was here, Valverde still trying to sprint across to Woods. He almost made it in there. In the official results there was no time gap difference in there, but Woods took the win, and in what fashion. It was an amazing win. In this year, Woods unfortunately had a crash in Paris-Nice. He broke a femur, if I'm not mistaken. It was a bad crash, but luckily COVID brought something positive, which was giving him some time to recover. He wasn't missing out on any racing pretty much. Paris-Nice was the last race that we had seen for a while. And I hope that now in the late season we still get to see him a lot. He's a great rider. I like seeing him, very aggressive and contributes to racing a lot. I hope to see a lot from him. If you've liked this video, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe. I would really be appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.